Good morning to everyone. Today we will discuss the accountancy project and the insolvency ratio from the book number 3. I receive a lot of queries that there's some confusion to prepare the accountancy project. So I just decided to give the guideline to you how to prepare the accountancy project. So please see carefully. First page of the accountancy project will be the spiral one, where your school name, logo, your subject, your name, your roll number. Bacha, very important is that you please don't write down the roll number. At this place, the board roll number will be written, your class, and submitted to your teacher's name. Okay. Next page is all about the acknowledgement. Bacha, in the acknowledgement, you will acknowledge that from where you particularly prepare the project, who had given the thanks and all that. Okay. Second page is the type of accountancy project. Basically, what you have to prepare one specific project, and that specific project contain the analysis of inflow and outflow of cash. So one particular project you will prepare where you will take one question. With the help of the question, you will prepare the cash flow statement. And once you prepare the cash flow statement, you will analyze that cash flow statement with the help of ratio. So how it will be? See. So basically you get it. What you have to do? One question you have to take. You have to prepare the cash flow, and bacha, with the help of cash flow you have to analyze the ratio and you have to give the conclusion. This much work you have to do. Now bacha, your specific question, like suppose this is the question that prepare a cash flow statement from the following balance sheet of Surya Vanaspati Limited. This type of question you can get it from the book number 3 from the chapter cash flow. So from there you can take it a question, and after that you have to provide the solution. You have to prepare a cash flow statement. So with the help of question you will prepare the cash flow statement. Cash flow statement contains 3 activities: operating, investing, and financing. Once you're done with the cash flow statement, okay bacha, that is what, once you're done with the cash flow statement, then you have to go for the ratio analysis of that cash flow statement. So what is the analysis of financial statement? What is the objective of the financial statement analysis? What are the advantages of ratio analysis, financial statement analysis? That you have to write down. And after that bacha, you have to calculate certain ratio like gross profit ratio, current ratio, and that all with the help of the cash flow statement. For example, suppose as you can see in the cash flow statement, like suppose here you can see your total current assets. Your total current assets is whatever you will just added that. Okay. And whatever is your current liability, you will added that. And with the help of that only, you will go and calculate the current ratio. Okay. whatever the current assets is there, whatever the current liability is there, you will go and calculate that. Similarly, you will go for net profit ratio, you will calculate the quick ratio. Okay. Earlier, 2 specific questions are required, but now this year, just 1 specific question you have to prepare for your project. So no need for the question number 2. Okay, no need for the question number 2. And after ratio analysis, you have to finalize with the conclusion that actually the company is increasing, decreasing, what is the financial status of the company, what is actually the increasing, decreasing status is there, cash is increasing, decreasing, company is in good position, your company have to be focused on a particular area. All that conclusion you can give it and your project will be over. So this is basically the accountancy project. So what you have to do, guys, simple, you have to prepare a cash flow statement with the help of one particular cash flow question. And bacha, once you done with the cash flow statement, you have to do the ratio analysis. But before that, you write down the objective, meaning, advantage of ratio analysis. And you find out certain ratio. And on the basis of that, you can give the conclusion that, okay, the company is in the good position, a company have to be focused on particular area. Whatever conclusion you find out with the ratio analysis, that you have to show in your conclusion page. Okay, this is about the accountancy project. And one more thing, accountancy project will be in the spiral file. Spiral binding will be there. No loose pages, no particular any other file. It should be spiral one. Focus on neat and clean writing. Avoid the duplication, error, cutting in the project. Okay. So now, in the last class, we had discussed the liquidity ratio from the chapter accounting ratio. Now, today we will discuss the solvency ratio, and in the solvency ratio, we will discuss the debt equity ratio. Okay, so just move to the chapter. So, bacha, the second part, what we have to discuss is solvency ratio. Okay, so bacha, in the solvency ratio, the first ratio what we are going to discuss is debt to equity ratio. Bacha, basically debt to equity ratio is equal to debt by equity. In the India, the ideal ratio of debt and equity ratio is 2:1, but outside of the India, it is generally 1:1. What things are coming under the debt and what things are coming under the equity, that you have to be very specific. Debt, generally in the debt, the long-term borrowings are coming. The long-term borrowings. Ab long-term borrowings means bacha, bonds, debentures. Okay, long-term loans. Long-term loans, deposits, public deposits is coming under the debt. Okay, a part of that, long-term provisions also come under the debt. Under the long-term provisions, like provisions for employee, provision for employee benefits, ठीक है, like other provisions are there. So it is what बच्चा, it is debt. अब under the equity, what things are generally coming? The share capital. By equity का तो बच्चा mainly what? Share capital. ठीक है. अब share capital में बच्चा it can be equity share, it can be preference share, ठीक है. And equity contain one more thing is reserve and surplus. अब that reserve and surplus content what बच्चा? Capital reserve, generally all type of reserve, capital reserve, general reserve, redemption reserve, security premium reserve, okay, statement of profit and loss account, मतलब profit and loss, that also content. ठीक है बच्चा. तो this is all about the equity. This is all about the equity. So what things are coming under the debt? That is long-term borrowings plus long-term provisions. What things are coming under the equity? That is share capital plus reserve and surplus. So when we calculated the debt, when we calculated the equity, then we can easily calculate the debt equity ratio. Okay. Like one question of CBSE 2013, it is a question of CBSE 2013. What is the question, bachcha? Total assets is 3,50,000. Total debts 2,50,000 and current liability is 80,000. ठीक है बच्चा. So total debts we have 2,50,000, total assets we have 3,50,000, current liability we have 80,000. Now we have to find out the value of debt equity ratio. So how we can calculate? See, bacha, for debt and equity, two things are there. Debt and equity is required. Ab equity mein bacha total debts, but under for the debt bacha we always take the long term. We always take the long term, not the short term. Short term नहीं लेना है. Debt equity ratio में debt are generally the long term one, not the short term one. So if first we have to calculate the value of debt. अब बच्चा you see, if total debt is 2,50,000, if total debt is 2,50,000, so बच्चा debt, total debt is 2,50,000, okay. और बच्चा current liability is how much? 80,000. Current liability is how much बच्चा? 80,000. अब देखो total debt is 2,50,000, current liability is 80,000. तो total debt content long term debt plus short term debt, both. Long term provisions, short term provisions. So if we are knowing that total is 2,50,000 and our short term is 80,000, so what will be the long term? what will be the long term one? 250 minus 80 is equal to how much? Is equal to how much, bacha? 2,50,000 minus 80,000 will be 1,70,000. So for calculating the debt equity ratio, we get it our debt. Debt is long term provision plus long term debts, and that we have 1,70,000. Now we have to find out equity. अब how we can find out equity? Again, it is very easy. One formula is there: assets is equal to liability plus capital, and we have the total assets 3,50,000, and we have the liability how much? Total liability, total debt is 2,50,000. So our capital is how much? No issue. So capital, it means share, equity shares, capital is equal to 3,50,000 minus 2,50,000 is equal to 1 lakh rupees. Is equal to 1 lakh rupees. Got it? 350 is equal to 250 plus capital. Yeah, capital is equal to 3,50,000 minus 2,50,000 is equal to 1 lakh. So now we have the equity also. So our debt equity ratio formula will be debt equity ratio formula will be debt, which is 1,70,000, divided by equity, which is 1 lakh, is equal to 1.7:1, and this is our answer. Okay, so on the basis of that, bacha, we will solve the debt equity ratio content. Now we will proceed for one particular thing, that how anything will change or not change the decision. अब देखो बच्चा, if it is said, understand this particular question. It is again the question of CBSE 2016, that if debt equity ratio, is 2:1, ठीक है बच्चा. अब now you have to see that if you purchase furniture, if you purchase furniture for 40,000 on 2-month credit, परचेज फर्नीचर फॉर 40,000 ऑन 2-month क्रेडिट, ठीक है बच्चा. तो देखो इसमें क्या है हिसाब किताब कि यू हैव टू टेल दैट विद दिस पर्टिकुलर इफेक्ट, बिकॉज ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजेक्शन, व्हाट इफेक्ट विल बी ऑन योर डेब्ट इक्विटी रेशियो. तो बच्चा यहाँ पे व्हाट इज डेब्ट, व्हाट इज इक्विटी, नथिंग इज गिवन. सो वी जस्ट एज्यूम कि भाई डेब्ट इक्विटी रेशियो 2:1 के अकॉर्डिंगली क्या होगा. सो डेब्ट is equal to 2:1, तो we assume चलो debt is 2 lakh rupees. Okay, and our equity is 1 lakh rupees. 2 lakh and 1 lakh. अब now purchase furniture for 40,000 on 2-month credit. बच्चा, any particular effect will be there because देखो 2-month credit is there. So it is a type of debt, but it is not for a long term. It is for a short term. And as you know that in the debt, only long term is there. So no effect on debt. Now, increasing furniture will not increase the equity. Increasing furniture will not increase the equity. So no effect in the equity. So it will remain 2:1. So we will write down that no change will be. No change will be. Okay. So this type of question will also come for the debt equity ratio. Now the next segment is total assets to debt ratio. Total assets to debt ratio. अब देखो बच्चा, what is the total assets to debt ratio? Is formula is total assets divided by long term debt. अब total assets is what बच्चा? Non current assets plus current assets is equal to total assets. And long term debt, you are knowing that already, we had calculated that. So suppose a question is there on the basis of this particular formula. The question is total debt is 12 lakh rupees. Shareholder fund 6 lakh rupees. Current liability 4 lakh rupees. And you have to calculate the total assets to debt ratio. अब देखो बच्चा, as we know the formula, that long term debts, we require long term debts. We have total debts, we have current liability. So what is our long term liability, what is our long term debt, that we can easily calculate. Long term debt is equal to total debts minus current liability. Total debts is 12 lakh rupees minus our current liability is 4 lakh is equal to how much? 12 minus 4 is equal to 8 lakh rupees. Now bacha, we second want is total assets. Total assets is very simple. By formula we are knowing assets is equal to liability plus capital. Assets we are not knowing, but liability, what is the total liability that we have is 12 lakh rupees plus capital is there, and the capital is how much bacha? 6 lakh rupees. 1 2 3 4 5 6 lakh rupees. So the total assets is equal to 12 plus 6 18 lakh. Now we have long term debts also and we have total assets also. So the ratio will be total assets divided by long term debt. So total assets is how much bacha? 18 lakh divided by long term debts is 8 lakh. 18 8 you just divide and you will get it the answer 2.25 is to 1. So this is the answer for the total assets to debt ratio. So by this way we will solve the total assets to debt ratio. Next is proprietary ratio. So proprietary ratio बच्चा is all about the proprietors. Proprietary ratio, देखो नाम ही इसका बच्चा क्या है? Proprietary ratio. तो proprietary ratio is what? Shareholder fund divided by total assets. We are knowing how to calculate the shareholder fund. We are now knowing how to calculate the total assets. So just we will solve a very simple question and it will over. So suppose long-term borrowings in the question, long-term borrowings is given 1 lakh rupees. Long-term provisions is given 50,000. Your current liability is given 25,000. Non-current assets is given 1,80,000 and बच्चा current assets is given 45,000. अब as you can see here that long-term borrowing is 1 lakh, long-term provision is 50,000, current liability 25, non-current assets 80, current assets 45. So with the help of this particular total, we can find out our total assets. So total assets will be 1,80,000 non-current assets plus current assets 45,000, and it will be how much bacha? 180 plus 45 is equal to, Haji, 180 plus 45 is equal to 2,25,000. Now shareholder fund. अब देखो बच्चा, very simple. Shareholder fund is what? Long-term borrowings plus long-term provisions plus current liability. If we add all these three, we will get it total debt. So for finding out the shareholder fund, we will implement this particular formula. Assets is equal to liability plus capital, या capital is equal to assets minus liability. Assets, we are knowing that assets is 2,25,000 minus liability. So all the liability 1 lakh plus 50,000 plus 25,000. Total will be how much bacha? 1 lakh plus 50, 1 lakh 50, 1 lakh 50 plus 20, 1 lakh 75,000. 1 lakh 75,000. So 2 lakh 25 minus 1 lakh 75 is equal to 50,000. So now we have the equity also, we have the total assets also. So the formula will be equity divided by total assets. Equity is how much bacha? 50,000. Total assets is how much bacha? 2,25,000, and this will come how much? 0.22. 0.22 is to 1. So this is the answer. So this much for today. In the next class we will start the turnover ratio. Okay, from the next class bacha, we will start the turnover ratio. Thank you.